I'm standing on the sidewalk watching strangers carry my life out in boxes. The house, our house, isn't mine anymore. Connor's lawyer handed me papers 3 weeks ago, and the judge signed them last Tuesday. Turns out the deed was in a trust I never knew existed. Connor set it up 2 years before we split, back when I was working 70-hour weeks at Piercebridge Technologies. I was too busy building procurement software to notice what he was building, an exit strategy. The movers are careful with the furniture but careless with my dignity. One guy drops a crate, and I see it, my old Piercebridge file box, the one with faded labels and coffee stains. I grab it before anyone asks questions. The sky opens up as I load the box into my sedan. Rain hammers the windshield while I sit there, engine running, nowhere to go. I should feel destroyed, but instead I feel numb. Connor got the house. I got a box of old paperwork and a storage unit across town. Connor's lawyer was smooth during the hearing. He cited the trust, showed the signatures, explained how the house was separate property. My lawyer barely fought back. I signed the papers because fighting felt pointless. Connor had already moved on, new girlfriend, new life, same house. That night in my cramped hotel room, I opened the Piercebridge box. Inside are contracts, vendor agreements, and system documentation. I flip through folders until I find the master services agreement I drafted in 2019. Section 8.4 makes me stop breathing. No assignment, transfer, or sublicense of this workflow system without express written consent of Piercebridge Technologies. I wrote that clause myself, insisted on it during negotiations. Back then, I thought I was protecting the company. Now, sitting on a hotel bed with rain streaking the window, I realize I might have protected myself. I read the clause 5 more times, heart pounding, before I finally let myself smile. 2 months later, I'm starting over. New job, small cubicle, but it's stable. My boss, Marilyn Ortiz, hired me as a vendor compliance analyst despite my messy resume gap. She's kind, the type who remembers your coffee order and actually listens during meetings. The work is straightforward, auditing vendor relationships, checking contract terms, making sure payments flow correctly. During onboarding, I sit through endless slides about the company's supply chain. Then a name flashes on screen during the partner overview, Northline Operations. My stomach drops. Northline is one of our largest distribution partners. I know Northline. Connor is their CFO. He joined them 8 months ago, right after our split. I force my face to stay neutral while the trainer talks about Northline's excellent vendor management systems. After the meeting, I lock myself in a bathroom stall and breathe slowly, hands shaking. This can't be coincidence. But maybe, just maybe, it's opportunity. I spend my lunch break comparing documents. Northline's purchase orders sit in our vendor portal, and I pull 3 months of invoices. The formatting looks familiar, so I dig into my Piercebridge archive. My heart races as I match them side by side. The layout is identical, same column headers, same expense codes, same workflow structure. Then I find it. Buried in the metadata of Northline's quarterly orders is a vendor ID, PBT4472 core. That's Piercebridge's system identifier. I check my old contract files to be sure, and there it is, stamped on every invoice I ever processed. Connor is using my workflow system, not a similar system, not an inspired by system. My actual system, the one I built and documented and protected with that assignment clause. He's been using it for months, maybe longer. I screenshot everything, create a folder on my personal drive, and label it Northline PBT. My hands won't stop shaking. I don't know what this means yet, but I know it's something big. I decide to start quietly. No lawyers, no drama, just a simple housekeeping email. I draft a message to Northline's accounts payable team asking them to update their vendor payment details for Piercebridge Technologies. I keep the tone professional and bland, like I'm just cleaning up old records. Please confirm receipt and provide documentation of assignment or transfer agreements on file. I hit send before I can overthink it. The reply comes back within an hour and it's ice cold. We have no record of Piercebridge Technologies in our current vendor database. Please verify your inquiry. I read it 3 times, anger building in my chest. No record. Their system is literally running on my code, stamped with my vendor ID. They're lying or they're ignorant or both. Either way, I'm not letting this go. I screenshot the email exchange and add it to my folder. Then I start documenting everything. Dates, invoices, system screenshots, metadata logs. If they want to pretend Pierce Bridge doesn't exist, I'll bury them in proof that it does. 2 weeks later, our company's compliance software pings an alert. It flags Northline operations under vendor of vendor risk, meaning Northline might be using third-party tools we haven't vetted. Marilyn pulls me into a meeting with our external auditors. They're preparing for our annual SOX compliance review, and Northline is on their checklist. The lead auditor, a sharp woman named Patricia, asks me to pull all documentation on Northline systems. "We need chain of control," she says, tapping her pen on the table. "Who owns what, who approved what, any assignment consents on file?" I nod slowly, keeping my expression neutral. "I'll pull everything we have." Back at my desk, I stare at the Pierce Bridge folder on my screen. This isn't just about me anymore. This is about compliance, liability, and audit trails. If Northline is using my system without consent, they're exposing our company to risk. And if I stay quiet, I'm complicit. I forward Patricia a summary email with careful, factual language. Then I wait. An industry blog I follow drops a bombshell. Northline Operations is in acquisition talks with Tri-Span Capital, a major private equity firm. The comment section explodes with speculation about valuation and leadership changes. I scroll through the article twice, my pulse climbing. Then I see the line that changes everything. All vendor contracts and third-party systems will be novated and repapered prior to closing, per Tri-Span's standard diligence process. Novated. That means every contract gets reviewed, reassigned, and formally transferred to the new owner. That means someone is going to ask Northline for proof they have rights to the Pierce Bridge system. I sit back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Connor's company is about to get bought, probably for millions. And somewhere in Tri-Span's due diligence checklist is a question Connor can't answer cleanly. I don't have to do anything dramatic. I just have to wait for the buyer's lawyers to find what I already found. The system will do the work for me. I schedule a consultation with Addie. Denise Coe, a contract lawyer a friend recommended. Her office is small but organized, walls covered with framed licenses and degrees. I spread out my documents on her conference table, the original Pierce Bridge agreement, the assignment clause, Northline's invoices, and the metadata screenshots. Denise reads in silence for 10 minutes, occasionally making notes. Finally, she looks up and smiles. "This is clean," she says. "Simple, enforceable, and entirely in your favor." She explains that the clause is ironclad. Without written consent from Pierce Bridge, any transfer or use of the system by another entity is a breach. "Document every instance of use," she advises. "Stay polite, don't obstruct business, but don't give away your rights either. Let the buyer's due diligence process force their hand." I leave her office feeling something I haven't felt in months, powerful. Not vindictive, not angry, just clear. Connor took my house and left me scrambling. Now he needs something from me, and I'm the only one who can give it to him. A week later, my phone rings. The caller ID says Northline Ops. I let it go to voicemail, heart hammering. When I listen back, a young woman named Tara introduces herself as a junior contracts manager. Her voice is shaky, like she's reading from a script. "We're reviewing some legacy vendor paperwork and wanted to verify details on an old system. Could you call me back?" I don't call back. Instead, I email her through my work address, keeping everything documented. "Happy to assist. Please send any questions in writing." Tara replies the next day with a short message asking for a quick signature to tidy up some old licensing details. No specifics, no context, no offer of payment. I forward the email to Denise, who responds immediately. "Do not sign anything. Tell them all requests must go through legal counsel." I reply to Tara with exactly that, polite but firm. Her response is just one line. "Understood." I imagine the panic spreading through Northline's offices right now, and I can't help but smile. That night, I sit at my kitchen table with bills spread out in front of me. Rent for my tiny apartment, car payment, credit card debt from the divorce. I used to own a house. Now I'm budgeting down to the dollar. I pull out a sticky note and write 3 numbers. First, back license fees, what Northline should have been paying me for using the Pierce Bridge system all this time. Second, consent fee, what I'll charge to formally approve the transfer to Tri-Span. Third, home equity, the amount Connor took when he kept the house. I add a 4th line, charity percentage. If I get anything out of this, I want some of it to help other people rebuilding their lives. I stick the note inside my wallet and fold it closed. These aren't fantasies, they're terms, and if Northline wants my signature, they'll have to meet them. I lie in bed that night imagining a future where I'm not scrambling, where I'm not counting pennies. Maybe I get that future. Maybe I don't. But at least now I'm asking for it. Connor's CFO, a man named Richard, emails me directly. The subject line reads Standard Consent Agreement. Inside is a 2-page document with no payment terms, no acknowledgement of past use, and a sweeping waiver of all claims. It's insulting. I read it twice, anger simmering, then I take a breath and reply calmly. Thank you for reaching out. I'm happy to provide consent under fair terms. Please see the attached memo outlining those terms. The memo Denise helped me draft is professional, factual, and thorough. It lists every date Northline used the system, references the original clause, and outlines my proposed fees. It never threatens, it never accuses, it just clarifies. I hit send and close my laptop. My hands are steady now. Richard doesn't reply that day or the next. But on the third day, I get an email from a new address, a diligence officer at Tri-Span Capital. Ms. Pierce, can we talk? I stare at the screen, heart racing. The buyer wants to talk to me directly. I forward it to Denise and type one word back. Yes. The Zoom call is scheduled for Friday at 10 a.m. I set up at Marilyn's suggestion in an empty conference room at work, professional background behind me. The Tri-Span banker, a man named Greg, appears on screen with 2 colleagues. He's polite but direct. Ms. Pierce, we're conducting due diligence on Northline's vendor relationships. Did Northline Operations ever receive written consent from Piercebridge Technologies to use or transfer the procurement workflow system? I keep my voice steady. No, they did not. Silence. Greg's face doesn't change, but I hear someone typing rapidly off screen. He exhales slowly. Thank you for clarifying. We'll circle back with next steps. The call ends. I close my laptop and sit there for a long moment, hands shaking. That question just blew a hole in Northline's acquisition. Without my consent, Tri-Span can't close the deal cleanly. I walk back to my desk on shaky legs, and Marilyn catches my eye. She nods once, a small gesture of support. She knows what I'm doing, and she's got my back. Within days, rumors start spreading. Someone posts an anonymous comment on LinkedIn suggesting I'm blocking opportunities and being vindictive toward my ex. The comment doesn't name me directly, but people in the industry connect the dots. A former colleague texts me, "Is this about Connor?" I don't respond publicly. I don't post, don't defend, don't engage. Marilyn calls me into her office and I brace for bad news. Instead, she closes the door and says, "You're doing this by the book. We've reviewed everything with legal and you're clean. Don't let the noise distract you." Relief floods through me. I thank her, voice tight. That afternoon, I organize every piece of evidence I have. Time-stamped emails, invoice metadata, the original contract, system logs showing continuous use. I create a clean digital folder and back it up in 3 places. Let them try to smear me. I have documentation they can't fight. My phone buzzes with an unknown number. The voicemail says, "Board Liaison, Northline Operations, please call back." His name is Elliot Vance, and he's nothing like I expected. Calm, thoughtful, no aggression in his voice. He asks if we can meet for coffee, and I agree, but only with Denise present. We meet at a neutral cafe downtown. Elliot is older, maybe mid-50s, with tired eyes and a patient demeanor. He gets straight to it. The board asked me to reach out because we're under timeline pressure. Tri-Span needs resolution before they'll move forward. What would you consider fair? I glance at Denise, who nods slightly. I pull out my terms, typed cleanly on 1 page. Back license fees for 2 years of use. A consent fee to approve the transfer. Repayment of my home equity, fully documented from the divorce. And a donation to seed a return-to-work fund for women rebuilding after hardship. I'm not here to destroy anyone, I say quietly. I just want what I'm owed. Elliot reads the page twice, then looks up. I'll take this to the board. We shake hands and he leaves. Denise squeezes my shoulder. You did good. A week passes. Then Tri-Span formally pauses the acquisition. The announcement is vague, pending resolution of vendor compliance matters, but industry insiders know what it means. Northline's deal is frozen, and their vendors are getting nervous. A major grocery chain delays renewing their contract with Northline, citing uncertainty. The pressure is building. Then Connor emails me for the first time since the divorce. The subject line is blank. The message is 2 sentences. Sign the consent and I'll consider offering something. Don't drag this out. I stare at the email, hands trembling with anger. Consider offering something after he took everything and left me with nothing. I don't reply. I forward it to Denise with a note. Is this a negotiation tactic? She responds. It's desperation. Hold firm. That night I lie awake, imagining Connor packing his office, my old house, realizing for the first time that he can't control this. He built his career on my work. Now I'm the one holding the keys. 2 days later, Denise calls with news. One of Northline's top customers, a retail distribution giant, has a master services agreement that mirrors my clause. No assignment of supplier systems without written consent. And their agreement lists Piercebridge as the supplier of record for Northline's procurement workflow. They need your consent, too, Denise explains. Otherwise, Northline breaches their customer contract. This is bigger than I thought. It's not just about Tri-Span buying Northline. It's about Northline's ability to operate at all. Tri-Span schedules a 3-party call, them, Northline's board, and me. I spend the weekend preparing, reviewing every document, rehearsing calm answers to hostile questions. Marilyn offers to sit in as a witness, and I gratefully accept. Monday morning, I log into the call. 12 faces stare back at me from the screen. Greg from Tri-Span starts. Ms. Pierce, help us understand the full scope of Piercebridge's rights. I take a breath, and I tell them everything. During the call, Northline's internal auditor drops a bombshell. They've been reviewing accounting records and discovered that Northline booked vendor rebates under Piercebridge's vendor ID for over 2 years. That means they didn't just use my system. They profited from it directly and recorded those profits in a way that implies they owned it. The exposure is massive. If this goes to litigation, Northline could owe damages far beyond my licensing fees. Greg's face goes stone still. He mutes, has a side conversation, then unmutes. We need a resolution this week. Elliot Vance, the board liaison, speaks up. We'd like to accept Ms. Pierce's terms with one modification. We'll cover the license fees and consent fee, but the home equity repayment will need to be negotiated separately with Connor Pierce personally. I feel my jaw tighten. That's not acceptable. The equity is part of the package. Elliot sighs. I'll bring it back to the board. The call ends. Denise sends me a message. Don't fold, they'll come around. 3 days later, a FedEx envelope arrives at my apartment. Inside is a letter on Northline's letterhead, signed by their general counsel. It's a formal apology acknowledging that Piercebridge Technologies system was used without proper authorization. But there's no mention of the home equity repayment. I call Denise immediately. They're trying to split the baby, she says. They'll admit fault on the licensing but avoid the personal stuff with Connor. She pauses. Here's what we do. We wait. Their fiscal quarter closes in 9 days. If Tri-Span doesn't close by then, Northline misses their projections and their stock price tanks. The board will panic. So I wait. I go to work, process invoices, attend meetings. I pretend my insides aren't twisting with anxiety. Marilyn asks how I'm holding up, and I lie and say I'm fine. On day 7, Connor tries a new tactic. He announces internally that Northline is building a replacement workflow system to get out from under the Piercebridge issue. But it can't make it audit compliant in time, and Tri-Span won't accept it. I hear about it through a former Northline employee who texts me. They're screwed. Day 8, Tri-Span schedules an emergency meeting for Friday at 9 a.m. all parties required. Their team, Northline's board, legal counsel, and me. Denise and I take the call from her office, her paralegal joining as a witness. The conference room on screen is packed. Greg speaks first, his tone clipped and final. We cannot close this acquisition without clear resolution on the Piercebridge matter. We've reviewed all options, and there is no viable path forward except full compliance with Ms. Pierce's terms. He turns to the camera, looking directly at Northline's board. This is your decision. Honor her terms in full or we walk. Elliot Vance looks exhausted. He glances off screen, presumably at Connor, then back at the camera. We need a board vote. They mute. We wait in silence for 11 agonizing minutes. When they unmute, Elliot's voice is steady but strained. The board votes to approve Ms. Pierce's full package, including home equity repayment. We'll draft the agreement today. The consent agreement arrives that evening. Denise reviews every line while I pace her office. Back license fees, $68,000. Consent fee for assignment to Tri-Span, $150,000. Home equity repayment, $112,000, matching the amount Connor kept from our house sale. and a $50,000 seed donation to establish the Pierce Bridge Fund through my employer's CSR program, supporting women rebuilding careers after major life disruptions. It's all here, Denise says, looking up with a rare smile. Sign it. My hand shakes as I pick up the pen. I think about the cold sidewalk where I watched movers take my life away. I think about the hotel room, the sticky note, the midnight research sessions. I sign my name. Denise countersigns as witness. We scan and send it back. Within an hour, the wire transfer confirmation hits my email. The money is real. I sit in Denise's office and cry, not from sadness, but from the sheer relief of survival. You did it, Denise says softly. I nod, unable to speak. The news breaks internally at Northline the next morning. Connor Pierce is removed as CFO, effective immediately. The board cites leadership decisions that expose the company to unnecessary risk. He's offered a severance package and a non-disparagement agreement. I don't hear this from him. I hear it from the industry grapevine, from former colleagues who text me with shocked emojis. Connor doesn't contact me. Maybe he's too embarrassed. Maybe he's too angry. I don't care anymore. That afternoon, Tri-Span's acquisition closes. Northline's employees get an all-hands email celebrating the exciting new chapter. Elliot Vance personally emails me. Thank you for your professionalism throughout this process. Best of luck moving forward. I write back. Thank you for treating this fairly. I close my laptop and sit in the sunlight streaming through my apartment window. It's not a house, but it's mine. And soon, I'll have something better. 2 weeks later, I'm standing in the living room of a modest townhouse on the east side of the city. It has good light, hardwood floors, and a small backyard with a maple tree. The real estate agent smiles. It's within your budget and the seller's motivated. I walk through each room slowly, imagining where my furniture will go, where I'll set up my desk. The kitchen is small but clean. The bedroom upstairs has a window seat. It's not the house Connor took from me. It's better because it's entirely mine. I make an offer that afternoon. It's accepted by evening. When I get the signed purchase agreement, I sit in my car and let the tears come. Not sad tears, grateful tears. I'm buying a house by myself, with money I earned by standing firm and refusing to disappear. I text Marilyn, I got the house. She responds immediately, I'm so proud of you. That night, I allow myself to feel something I haven't felt in a year, hope. At work, Marilyn calls me into her office. I brace myself, unsure what's coming. She gestures for me to sit. The executive team has been watching how you handled the Northline situation. Your professionalism, your attention to compliance, your integrity under pressure, it's exactly what we need in leadership. She slides a folder across the desk. We'd like to promote you to compliance manager. I stare at the offer letter, barely processing the words. A title, a raise, a team to lead. Marilyn continues, and we'd like to partner with you on launching the Pierce Bridge Fund officially through our CSR program. You'll oversee the grant selection process. My throat tightens. I don't know what to say. Marilyn smiles. Say yes. I do. That afternoon, I send an email to HR accepting the promotion. I update my LinkedIn with the new title, and within an hour, messages pour in. Congratulations from old colleagues, former mentors, even a few people from Northline who saw what happened and respected how I handled it. I'm not invisible anymore. I'm not powerless. I'm building something new. A month later, the Pierce Bridge Fund announces its first round of grants. 5 women receive funding to support career transitions. One is going back to school for nursing. Another is launching a freelance design business. Another is covering childcare costs while she completes a coding boot camp. We host a small reception at my company's office. I meet each recipient, hear their stories, see the relief in their eyes when they realize someone believes in them. One woman, Maria, pulls me aside afterward. I didn't think anyone cared about people like me trying to start over in our 40s, she says, voice shaking. Thank you for seeing us. I hug her, blinking back tears. This is why I fought, not for revenge, not to hurt Connor, but to reclaim my voice, my value, and my ability to help others do the same. On my drive home, I pass the old house, Connor's house. The lights are on, but I don't slow down. That chapter is closed. I'm writing a new one now. Today, I'm sitting in my townhouse, sunlight spilling through the kitchen window. My coffee is hot, my mortgage is manageable, and my calendar is full of work I actually care about. The Pierce Bridge Fund is growing. We've gotten donation matches from 3 other companies, and we're expanding to offer mentorship alongside financial grants. Marilyn and I are building something sustainable, something that will outlast both of us. I think about the woman I was a year ago, broke, displaced, invisible. I think about the lockbox I pulled from that moving crate and the clause I'd written years earlier without knowing it would save me. Connor took a house and left me with nothing, but I didn't stay nothing. I used what I had: knowledge, patience, and a refusal to disappear. I built a bridge out of the scraps he left behind, and then I crossed it. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Denise. "Proud of you, Lauren." I smile and type back. "Proud of me, too."